So as I said, this is a Grid for iPad webinar. So over the next half an hour, we're going to take a look at the app and give you a quick tour of the key features and hopefully help you get started. We did have technical difficulties in the last session, so apologies if you're having difficulty with sound or if sound drops out. Not sure whether we've resolved it yet, but I really hope that we have. Grid for iPad is a complete AAC platform. It includes instant access to resources for both symbol and text communication. It's got a touch-first design that's intuitive. It's got an intuitive user interface, in-app editing to enable you to edit and create resources directly within your iPad. You'll notice the similarities if you use Grid 3 already between Grid 3 and the iPad platform. It's designed for anyone without speech and is suitable for a wide range of conditions. What you can see in front of you now is Grid Explorer. The Grid Explorer is a place to store and manage your grid sets. When you first open Grid for iPad, Grid Explorer is blank, and that's to allow you to populate it with the grid sets that you want. And what we're going to do first is learn how to add a grid set. You'll notice on the top right-hand side, you should be able to see 3 little dots. If I select that, it opens up the menu for Grid for iPad. And the top option there is Add Grid Set. So we'll go in and add that. In terms of content in Grid for iPad, it's packed full of resources. You can browse through the top here where you can see the Smartbox grid sets. I think it comes with about 40 grid sets available. Below the Smartbox grid sets, where you can see we've got symbol communication, text communication, interactive learning and accessible apps. We've also got the online grids option. This takes you to the online grids community. Here you can access more grids that have been made by the Smartbox team, but also lots and lots of grids that are there being made by you guys out in the community. So I definitely recommend having a look. Further down this menu, you can see we've got the blank grid set option. That's there if you want to obviously create a grid set and start from scratch. Let's go ahead and add a couple of grid sets. So I'm going to first go into text communication. And I'm going to look at Text Talker. And you can see I've got a cell that says Add. So I'll select that. And you can see it's appeared in Grid Explorer behind me. Now I can either open that straight away, or if I want to add another grid set, which I do, I'm just going to navigate back using the arrow in the top left. And go back to Add Grid Set. And I'm going to add a symbol communication one as well. So we'll go in and we will look for Supercore. And here I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to press Add. Now, once I can tell that Supercore is downloaded, I'm just going to click behind the window onto Explorer. And there I can see that my 2 grid sets are available. The other thing that you can do in Grid Explorer, if you're someone like me who likes to have everything neatly organized into folders, is you can organize your grid sets. So I've clicked on the menu options here, and I'm going to go into Arrange Grid Set. You can see that already it's popped up with the X in the top right-hand corner of each grid set. This is to allow you, obviously, to delete. But on the top left-hand side of the menu bar, it now says Create Folder. So here, I can open up a folder, change its name, so we'll call it Symbol AAC. And if I just tap the Grid Explorer window behind here, I can just drag my grid set into the folder. Once I'm happy with how that's arranged, I can select Done. So again, it's really easy just to manage and organize your Grid Explorer. Very quickly then, I just want to spend a little bit of time giving you a quick tour of Supercore and Text Talker, and then we'll move on to the editing on Grid for iPad. We'll start with Supercore, because that's the last one we added. So Supercore was developed by one of our in-house speech and language therapists, Daisy Clay. It's a core vocabulary system. So if anyone's not familiar with that, core vocabulary makes up roughly about 80% of the words that we say. And then the other 20% are usually quite context specific. So you can see here that the core vocabulary on the home page, if I move from left to right, you've got the yellow words, which are your pronouns, the verbs and action words in green, adjectives describing words in blue, and then the grey cells there are our little words. Now we're going to look at the two right-hand columns a bit later. The idea behind core vocabulary is that it allows the learner to say more from just one grid. There is a lag. I've just seen the question. It doesn't usually take that long to open. There's a lag between what's happening on my iPad and what you can see in the webinar platform. So you're about a couple of seconds behind. That's why it seems to be a bit of a delay. So if I start typing, there is a chance you won't be able to hear this, by the way, because for some reason it's not picking it up. But the idea is that I can type most of my message from my top grid. So we'll go for I like this, and you can see that it's added my text to the message window at the top. It did speak as I was typing. If I select the message window, it reads it back, and I've currently got it set to read with highlighting. So we'll do another one. I need more help. You may have noticed as I'm typing that some of the cells are changing. So the purple row at the top here will change as I type, and that's because SuperCore has predicted next word and smart grammar built into it. This means that the features are aimed at supporting quicker and more effective AAC. So I'll just type another one, and if you watch the purple words at the top and see how they change as I type. So do you want to do more? So those are there again to help with the speed and efficiency of being able to create our message. So that's the core vocabulary. On the right-hand side, you've got two turquoisey columns. These are our dynamic columns, and these contain what we call context-specific vocabulary. So not necessarily our core vocabulary, but vocabulary that is about specific topics. On the top, you can see that we've got daily and play activities, and these are taken from typical daily and play activities that a child might do on your average day. The idea behind this is that they've then got access to real vocabulary in real context. Okay, so we'll go into daily just to show you how it works. As we go into the columns, you'll notice that the core vocabulary stays the same. So I'm going to go into sleeping so that I've got access to my core vocabulary whilst having the sleeping specific vocabulary, if you like, bedtime vocabulary on the right-hand side. This means that I can construct my message using the words on the right-hand side. For example, choose story, or I can combine it with my core vocabulary. Okay. So it's really important that we give our learners access to both. If I select phrases, you can see now that we've got some phrases that are specific to bedtime. And this again is to help speed up being able to create and generate your message in a specific context. I'm going to go back to the home grid. And the other thing just to mention is there are supports in here that try to help learners who are, there's not an adult version currently, Jane, it is something that's on our, definitely on our to-do list. Adult and teen is something that we will be looking into after this one. So if we go into spelling, for example, there's some supports built in that are designed to help learners who are developing literacy. This keyboard here is an ABC phonics keyboard. There are other keyboards available, and you get to them by the option on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. But if I select, and again, you probably won't be able to hear, but the sound, the voice coming from these particular keys is a pre-recorded. It's one of somebody in Smartbox. It's a pre-recorded voice, and it calls the individual phonic sound. So k, a, t, and then that builds the word in the message window. It just allows the user to play with sounds, because many SuperCore users might be, starting out with literacy alongside their AAC development. The other thing to look at here, as well, you'll notice that some of the words don't have symbols with them. This is done specifically because, particularly with some of the smaller words, they often have more abstract symbols. And so the abstract symbols can be quite difficult to learn. And sometimes if you look at the word a, for example, or to, it's almost as easy to learn the grapheme to or a than it is to learn the symbol itself. So again, supporting the literacy of learning the word over the symbol. I'm going to pause there with SuperCore because obviously this session is about Grid for iPad as a whole, but it's definitely worth downloading SuperCore. It's free. Spend some time with it, exploring the different features and becoming familiar with all of the language and content that is in there. I'm going to go back to Grid Explorer by selecting on the menu bar the top left-hand icon. I'll very quickly show you Text Talker, and then we'll move into some editing. So Text Talker is our text communication grid set. It's designed for fast and efficient message generation. It uses chat history, quick phrases, and word prediction to make communication as fast as possible. I'll model some of the sentences and you can see what's happening. If you look at the 2 rows above the keyboard, you've got the top light grey row is the chat history, and the darker black row is the word prediction. So I'm going to start to type in I want, that's shown up there, tea. So I've done 3 words, and I can see in the grey I've got chat history showing up. I'd like to have a cup of tea with milk, so I will select that. Again, the idea behind this is that we can generate messages quickly. We have quick phrases in Text Talker, which we've already put some in, but you can add to those quick phrases. If you look on the left of the screen, you've got 2 little speech bubbles. And these are now my quick phrases. I can add that phrase to my quick phrases by selecting the plus in the blue circle at the bottom. Select the cell I want to put it in, and then it's added it for me. So again, there's multiple ways that I can have messages showing up and build messages within Text Talker. The other feature that's definitely worth mentioning, you may have already looked, on the left-hand side, there is an orange circle which says message banking. Now, message banking is obviously a really brilliant feature for anybody who's going to lose their voice and wants to have their voice in their communication aid, for as long as they need it. I'm not going to give you a demo of this, but certainly there's information here. You can see there's an information cell on the right-hand side. But the idea being that you go into record new message, and you can either record the message that I've already got there, or I could type out a new message. Once I've got the message in the window, I press next, and it takes me to the screen where I can record, and then afterwards it will come up with options to re-record, and also to be able to record another message. So I can record one message after the other and add it into Text Talker. If you want more information about this, do look at the the information cell on the message banking page, or also look on our website. So that was a really brief overview of Text Talker. Again, spend some time familiarising yourself with Text Talker and learning what's in there, because there is lots and lots in there to help our users be able to do fast and efficient messaging. Okay. I saw your message just pop up, something about SuperCore, Alan. I'm not going to answer it because I've lost the thread, so I didn't know which bit you meant. So I'll move on and leave it for Emma for the moment. The next thing we were going to look at, did anyone have any specific questions about Text Talker or SuperCore? See if I can look at this thread. Okay, I'll move on because Emma seems to be answering the questions fine for me. Basic editing then, the bit that I suppose many of you wanting to have a quick look at. The easiest way I find to edit in Grid for iPad or in learn how to edit in any of our softwares is to do it in a blank grid set. So that's what we're going to do. So something that was really important to us in the design of Grid for iPad was that the editing was simple and intuitive. So let's take a look at how it works. So I'm going to start by going back to where we've been previously. Go into the menu and add grid set. But this time I'm going to specifically add a blank grid set. We'll scroll down and go to blank. Here I need to add it a name, so we'll call it webinar. And I can obviously change the look of the tile, and I can choose the number of rows and columns that I've got on my grid, set it up, and then select done in the top right-hand corner. And it adds it to my Grid Explorer. You can see it syncing there. So I'll go into the grid set, and I can see immediately that it's prompted me that I've actually not got any information in the grid. So I'll go to edit the cells. So again, using the same menu, the three dots at the top, and go to edit grids. All I need to do now is select which cell I want to edit. So I'm just going to press 1, and it pops up with the Create Cell menu. So the first 3 options that pop up are the most commonly used options. That's why they're there. If there's a specific command that you're looking for, there's something specific you want it to do, you can just select show more. So here I'm just going to go for a write and speak cell. So I'll select write and speak. And what you'll notice is that the app is zoomed in on the area of the screen that I've chosen to edit. It just makes editing easier and much clearer rather than having to try and view it, especially depending on the size of your iPad screen. So the cursor is flashing, ready for me to add the text. So I'm just going to add in a word. So I've put like, and what you can see here is that I've got a symbol already added for me. It automatically does that, but if I want to change the symbol, all I do is select the symbol. So I've literally just tapped it. And here you can see popped up next to it is a window to enable me to change the symbol. So I can select Find Picture. And it gives me options to look at symbols, go into my photo library, search on the web, or even go into my camera and take a picture. So we'll just go into symbols and type one here, go for a search. And I'm going to type for thumbs up. And there it is. We'll have that widget symbol there. And pop that in. And now I've edited my cell. Again, play around with just getting familiar on the different ways that you add text and the different types of symbols and images that you can put on. If you look at the right-hand side of the screen, in the editing window there, you can see there's 2 tabs on the top. One is commands, which is where we're on now. So that's where I could go if I wanted this cell to speak and I also wanted it, for example, to jump to a new screen. This is where I'd add it. But I can also make changes to the style here. Again, have a look through all of the options because there's actually quite a lot that you can do. I'm just going to do the cell fill and border just to give you a quick demo. So if I select cell fill and we'll go for a yellow cell and then go back and select cell border and we'll go for a blue border and go back. You can see it's changed my cell and it's also given me little icons so I know what colour they're set to. So once you're happy with all the edits that you've made, I'm just going to press done in the top left and finish editing. And there's my cell. So hopefully, I know that's been quite a quick sort of demo, but you can see how easy it is to customize grids in Grid for iPad. As I said, the best way to learn really is to make a blank grid set and just sit and have a play, make a couple of cells and work out what everything does. Has anybody got any questions specific? I can see Emma's talking about PCS licenses, pod, Phonics for All. Anything specific about the editing? Okay. The last thing I wanted to cover in this session then was settings. And again, I definitely spend some time having a look at the settings. They live under the 3 dots under the menu on Grid Explorer, and I'm going to select settings, and it opens up my window where I can go to all the different settings menus. I'll do you a quick whistle-stop tour of them. So if we go in Access, that's where I'm looking at things like my highlight style and colour. Speech allows me to do stuff like choose my speaking voice, and you'll notice at the bottom there, those of you who are wondering about the message banking, you can also do message banking from within the settings, if you have a look there. If I go into writing, that's where I can do things like change the settings in my chat history, I can set abbreviations, I can change the symbols that represent certain words. My accounts is where I go to set up the Smartbox, the Dropbox accounts that are linked specifically with my iPad, and I can also say who can be a remote editor, so who can edit my grid sets. Purchases is obviously fairly straightforward. It tells you about the licensing information. But one thing that I really want to draw your attention to is the Help tab. So providing you're online, this help information lives under the Help tab. And it contains all sorts of information about getting started with Grid for iPad, including some basic editing information. So, for example, if you look at the 4th one down under Editing in Grid for iPad, you can see it says, how do I make a new write cell, which is what we've just looked at. And there you can see it's given me brief instructions. So if you are trying to do something in Grid for iPad, you can quickly go into the Help menu, into the Settings menu, and into Help and find your answer. You can access settings from within a grid set or from Grid Explorer, and the only difference is that when you're within a grid set, there's an extra tab that gives you specific things that you can change for the grid set. Okay, that actually brings us to the end of our tour of Grid for iPad for now. I do hope that that's been useful as giving you information to get you started and just showing you around and how it works. As I said, this session's been recorded, and also there is a worksheet that accompanies the session, which will take you through all of the areas that I've looked at, and we'll be sending that out with the recording. It'll either be later on this evening or tomorrow. If you've got any questions, I'll just flick screens. You can direct them to myself or our support team, and also you can find out more information on our website. I just wanted to say thank you for joining. Again, ask questions. Oh, thanks, Alan. Thanks for the feedback. Fortunately, we had less technical problems in the second session than we did in the first. But yeah, if you do have any questions, get in touch, download the trial version from the App Store and just have a play with it, really. But yeah, let us know if we can help. I'll stay on the line for probably the next 2 minutes, but then I'll end the session and you can all enjoy your evening. So thanks again.